Hey everybody, I'm Alex Big Blue, and this is my top 10 comic vampires. So I'll be telling you guys my top 10 favorite comic book vampires from number 10 all the way to number 1, starting off right now with number 10. Night Terror. So Night Terror is a vampire character that I just read his first appearance recently, and I think he's a pretty interesting character because, for one, his backstory is that he got shipped off by this, I think, evil corporation to a mission, and he comes back as a vampire and he doesn't know what happened or that he's even a vampire to start with. And he has to not only feed to try to stay alive, but also he's trying to get back his memories to figure out what happened to him. And he starts off as a Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch specifically, villain in that issue. And yeah, anyways, I think he's a pretty imposing character and he's a pretty decent character design as well. And I really think he's pretty cool insofar from what I've read. At number 9, Vampirella. So Vampirella has one of the coolest character designs, especially from non-Marvel and DC characters, I think that there is. I also think she makes for some of the greatest covers, and they always really focus on making really great ones with her in general, so she really stands out for that as well. And yeah, I just think she's a really cool character with an awesome name that's always really interesting and everything. At number 8, the daughter of Blade, Bloodline. So Bloodline is a character that I just started reading about recently in Blood Hunt, that miniseries, which I've read all but the last issue of, by the way, and I'm going to try to get that soon. But yeah, I really think she seems like a very likable character so far, and pretty interesting. I like her character design as well. And yeah, she seems like a fairly intriguing character so far, and I definitely am digging her. At number 7, Dracula. So, or Marvel's Dracula specifically. I forget if that's what the one in DC is called as well or not. But anyways, yeah, Marvel's Dracula, I think, is a great kind of quintessential version of the character like you expect from the old books and even the Universal Monsters type of stuff. But yeah, Dracula is a great villain. He's a hugely powerful character. And he plays a really great X-Men villain when he comes up in that. I know he's been in other books, including The Tomb of Dracula, which I have one of and I haven't read yet. But overall, everything he's in, he's pretty interesting. He's also in Blood Hunt. I think he's a great villain in that, even though he's kind of the anti-villain for the most part, I guess, in a way. But he's still doing horrible things, actually. So never mind, he's still a villain too. But yeah, he's very interesting in all the stuff I've read him in. And he's, like I said, just a great villain and a great Dracula take, I think. At number 6, Morlun. Morlun is a super powerful, super evil too, for that matter, Spider-Man villain that I really like a lot. I think he's very imposing, and he really wants to kill Spider-Man specifically a lot more than some of his other villains even does. There's very few that wants to kill him as bad as he does, I would say. And yeah, he's just really powerful and a great vampire character that I really like a lot. At number 5, the Black Queen, Seline. Seline is not only a member of the Hellfire Club a lot of times, but she's also a really great X-Men villain in general. And of course, she's a vampire being on this list. But yeah, I really like her a lot as a character. I think she's very cool to be like to be a villain. And also, I really like her look as a character. And I think from the stories I've read so far, she's very interesting and one that I really like. At number 4, the daughter of Dracula, Lilith. I think Lilith, from the story that I read the other night especially, is extremely interesting. I really like her a lot. She kind of bounces back between an anti-hero and anti-villain, it seems. And I think she's fascinating for that. But not only that, but her powers are crazy. And she also hates Dracula, at least in the stories that I've read so far, which is kind of interesting. And she's gunning for him, basically. And rightfully so, I would say. But yeah, she's overall just a really cool character. I like her backstory, and like I said, powers, looks, everything's very interesting. At number 3, Bloodstorm. So this is Storm as a vampire, but not just her in general. It's the version of her from Mutant X, is where Bloodstorm first appears. And I think she comes out into the other main universe later on, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember reading a comic where I think she did, if it was the same version. But nonetheless, Bloodstorm is super awesome. She has all the powers, I believe, of Storm, but she's also a vampire to start with. So she's a member of the Six in that particular run, which is like the X-Men team there. And yeah, I just think she's a great character and really likable and fascinating, and one that they should probably even keep doing more stuff with. At number 2, it's Morbin time, baby. Michael Morbius, the living vampire. So ever since I saw his first episode in the Spider-Man the animated series show of the 90s, I've been captivated by that character. I think he's a great Spider-Man villain who's sympathetic, by the way, especially in that show, and I think maybe in the comics too. And then later on becomes an anti-hero in the comics, and he's always just really interesting, extremely great character design, and like I said, his backstory and his kind of what he's trying to do is always pretty interesting, and you're kind of curious where he's going to go. And yeah, his powers are great. Pretty much everything about him is really interesting, and I've always dug the character. And at number one, Blade. So Blade is a character, whether it be from his awesome movies, all of which I actually like, or well, the original three, anyways. I think there may be some other TV movie or something, but of the main three, anyways, I really like those. Whether it be those, or whether it be him in the comics, which is always awesome, or him in the cartoons like the Spider-Man the amazing, the Spider-Man animated series, as I was trying to say, from the 90s, is one of the first times I saw him, if not the first time. I really liked him in that. I liked him in the comics, and I also really like him in the movies. I think Blade is awesome. Oh yeah, and he's also really good in the other movie, which I won't spoil here, but a recent one too. But I almost forgot to mention that. But Blade is a super cool character. He has a great backstory, being the Daywalker, half human, half vampire, and him as his powers and him as his looks and everything's iconic. And yeah, he's just a great character that I think pretty much everybody likes, and I certainly do. I'm Alex Blue. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you later.